All right, folks, I just wanted to make a quick little video here for you. I'll try not to ramble too much. Wanted to make sure that you could get the most out of Mastering Biology as you could. It's a very helpful tool, and I'll probably give you more than you need to use, but at least you'll have access to this through Schoology and check back with it as you need to. First of all, hopefully you guys have all had an opportunity to log in. I know there was a mix-up with the login registration and the codes and everything else, and I believe the district has sent out a physical letter to each person and parent, making sure that everybody's got the right stuff. Make sure you pass the word along in case there's somebody that you know that's in the class that hasn't received that, so that we can take care of all those pieces of information. So ultimately, once you log into the course, it will ask you if you have a course ID that's been provided by your instructor. That course ID appears right here on my screen. Make sure that you say yes, you do have a course ID, and then log that in. Once you do log in, even if you've forgotten to do that, you can go back and re-enter that course ID. I'm not exactly sure how to do that because I can't undo what I have right now, but I know you're capable of like, okay, yeah, I got to register for this course, and here's the course ID. So ultimately, your home screen will look like this. It will have the course home. It'll have basically a calendar here. Some of these tabs will look a little different. I believe these tabs over here are located more in this general area for you guys than me. Obviously, this is an instructor view and not a student view, but many of the buttons are still the same. There is the traditional e-text, so if you launch that, it'll open up an e-text for you, which is your book online. Many of you checked out books before you left for the summer. That's great, but also you can get the book here. And it's a pretty straightforward thing. Most of you have used this before. Over here, once this loads, there'll be a selection for chapters and things like that. We're going to start with Unit 8. One of the reasons, or Unit 7, sorry. One of the reasons that we chose this unit was because it can be done on its own. And it doesn't have to have a whole ton of prior knowledge beforehand. Plus, it's not terribly technical like some of the things that we do during the course of the year. So we're starting with Chapter 40 on my reading list. And there's Chapter 40, and you can go ahead and read through. Pretty simple, nothing too special there. But there's your online textbook. So that's that e-text button on the Mastering Biology home screen. Also, there's a place here called Study Area, which is probably going to be your most important piece. Once you click on that, it'll open up a tab that looks like this. You select the chapter that you want to go to. So we're in Chapter 40. So we're going to select that one, and then you have to hit go. Some people wait for it, it never happens. You have to hit go. And then what it'll do is it'll load up a number of different things for you as far as like what you need to do. These little icons means that it'll just open the book for you. Like look to this page, look to this page. And then there's activities. Some of them are real bland and boring and terrible, and some of them are relatively informative, if not really well done. It's kind of hit or miss. So some of these are horribly done, like this one is not very good.
Tissues are groups of cells with a common structure and function. An animal's body may be composed of over 100 different kinds of tissues, classified into 4 major categories: epithelial tissue, connective tissue.
And you can hear that it's narrated, just kind of reading the statement there, and it's just one slide. Other ones, and I'll show you some other ones here in a second, are a lot more dynamic. So again, use it as you will. Choose that some of them are like, yeah, I already read about that. Some of them will be a lot more informative. Let me think here, what else is here? On Chapter 40, it'll go through Chapter 40.1, 40.2, 40.3. It may have an activity. It may have an investigation. The investigations that you can launch are labs that you basically do at an activity. And you basically sketch out things that go on, and you do an investigation piece online. And then there's lab notebook and questions that go along with it. They can be good little things that help you understand the material quite a bit better. So those are investigations. And there's also videos on here that they will post. Once you get done with a chapter, there's always self-quizzes and practice tests. I would strongly urge you to take a look at those. I usually choose the questions for the tests from these question banks from the self-quiz and practice tests. So the more that you go through those things, the better off and better prepared you're going to be. There's also word roots and key terms and flashcard tools, just some basic kind of review material for the entire chapter. Another thing, and I'm just going to skip ahead here to Chapter 41, just to show you what else is there. So again, you have to hit go. On chapter 41, where this book does a nice job is with these BioFlix animations. And it looks like this. It's a little icon that looks like that. It says BioFlix. And then it'll talk. It does like a video and a kind of a animated version of the biological concept. So it does a really nice job. Also, some of these investigations like this one, we'll actually do this one in class this year. But it's always good to take a look at those as well. So those are the ideas for your study area. So once again, I got there by clicking on study area. It opens up that landing page. You choose the chapter that you're currently working on. If you take some of the chapter review stuff, the self-quiz and the practice testing, you're still thinking, man, this is not going as well as I had hoped it had. Like chapter 40, there's some stuff here on negative and positive feedback. And generally speaking, it's a tricky little topic to understand. It seems really easy, but students kind of struggle with it. So what I would suggest is a couple of different websites for you. Bozeman Biology. You can look up bozemanscience.com. You see this up here in the heading up here. This is from a teacher out in Bozeman, Montana, who has put together a series of videos that are kind of applauded by the AP Bio committee or community. And there's just tons and tons of videos here on all the different topics that are in AP Bio. It is technical and straightforward. It's not entertaining. It's not dazzling you. But he does a nice job with relatively short videos, usually around 10 minutes long or so. So let's say you're struggling with the idea of positive and negative feedback. I'd go to this Bozeman Biology page. I would load up your search tool and look for like negative feedback. And here's a video that he has on positive and negative feedback loops. And when you click on it, it'll pop open and you have the opportunity then to view that video. He again does a very nice job with it, walks you through it, gets you some ideas as far as what that can be. It may not apply directly to the concepts from our book, but obviously positive and negative feedback are big things for biology. Another one that is really good is there's a YouTube channel called Crash Course Biology. And Crash Course Biology was started by Hank and John Green. John Green was the guy who wrote The Fault in Our Stars, kind of a young adult author. And they thought there's just not enough information out there for science for kids to understand. And so they put these videos together. These are much more kind of entertaining, flashy, and at the same time informative. So Crash Course Biology on the YouTube channel can be a very, very helpful tool. Generally, you can just type in Crash Course Biology positive feedback or negative feedback or whatever topic we're on in a Google search, and then you'll find something there. So those two websites have been very, very helpful for students in the past as well. Once you take all of your practice tests and everything else and you feel like, yep, I'm ready to go ahead and take the Chapter 40 test, I'm starting to load some of these tests on your landing page. Now, the way that you'll find them is you have to go up until September 5th. That's going to be the date that all of the tests will have a due date on. So all of them will be loaded on here on September 5th. And what you'll do is you'll click on a test. All of these tests will be timed. There's two reasons for that. One, you need to get used to the pacing of an AP multiple choice test. Kids complain about that every year, that they run out of time on the multiple choice versions of the AP test in May. So we're going to push you a little bit. And then two, it also keeps students from sitting and cheating and grabbing a book and having it open next to them and searching for answers and searching for things. Basically, you're going to have about 50 seconds to a minute for every question that you get. So ultimately, all of your tests will be posted here. You'll click on it. It will remind you that it starts with a timer. It runs a timer at the top of the screen. Run your way through it. I have had one student in the last 3 years who, for some reason, the scores did not post to Mastering Biology. And so what I would ask you to do is also, just for a backup plan if you want to, sit down with a pen and a paper and write down, question 1, I answered A. Question 2, I answered B. Question 3, just so you have some history of that event. Obviously, it scrambles a number of different questions in the order of the questions, so it's not going to help anybody else, but at least it'll serve as a record for you. All right, I think that's about it for what you guys need to know about mastering biology and a couple other resources. Hopefully that helps and gets you started. Thanks for listening.